All right, everybody. Good afternoon. When you see this, I'm making this at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I was feeling a little under the weather, but I didn't want to miss any more time with you guys. So I wanted to hammer this in. So I was like, why not even take it a step further, and go back into the days of old in the catalyst of COVID and do a Zoom lesson. And how fitting to do a Zoom lesson or a virtual lesson on our virtual interviews. I was like, maybe it just worked better that way. But God works in mysterious ways. But anywho, guys, let's get started. I'm gonna step back. So I know we introduced this back in on Tuesday, but we're running very short on time. So we're just gonna clean the palette completely clean slate and start over brand new and fresh and go over real world application. Instead of Zoom interviews, we'll call them virtual interviews, and we'll explain that later. Now, for my final unit, I want to engage and explore you guys in one of the most common practices. This is public speaking class, all right? And everything you take from here, many times you're like, why am I in this class? This feels like dead weight. Why do I even need this? Again, when you leave those high school doors, or maybe when you're even in these high school doors right now, I know the class is kind of scattered. I think most of you are about sophomores, maybe juniors. The interview, you're going to hear it so many times. And this is going to be the difference between you getting and getting denied for that job or that promotion or that internship, okay? We all want to work our way up into the world, but so many times, we gloss over things and we get looked over by somebody else because they had the up versus us, they were in the know, we weren't. Many times I wasn't in the know, and it killed me in the end. I couldn't blame anybody else. Was I not trying hard enough? I wouldn't say so, but again, here I am to help you and give you some world-found knowledge from a 23-year-old man who's seen enough to pass on to you. So by the end of the completion of this unit, we will have students will have a strong, confident presence when interviewing. You should be able to understand the difference between business professional and business casual. And you're going to have a firm grasp of making strong first impressions. And throughout this whole unit, we're going to build on top of each other. So every unit, we're going to have some kind of presentation. Now, I'm not saying this is very strenuous. Don't stress. This is going to be fun. I want this to be fun for our last unit, but this is still going to be educational. You're still going to learn from this, all right? So today's objective. By the end of the lesson today, students will have a strong understanding of virtual interviews, how to conduct oneself when having a virtual interview, the proper dress etiquette to make a first impression, and how to properly set up a virtual interview. Okay. So just a quick refresher, I know I'm speaking to a crowd. So when we spoke on Tuesday, I know you guys said most of you have done interviews, and I was getting a little taste of, did you feel anxious? Do you feel better or worse when you do them? So let's just go over just the bare basis, all right? An interview is basically a structured conversation. Sometimes sometimes you have informal or informal interviews, just like when you meet a person of high rank, like you're at a college fair. That's not really an informal interview, but an informal kind of thing where you're just making your presence known because they see that. I used to work in admissions at my old university, and back when I used to be working the table, just like every student I would meet or shake hands with, like, oh, what's your name? How are you doing? You may think, I'm meeting so many people, and yeah, I'm meeting a lot of people, but that exchange, that one-on-one exchange is so important. Interviewing is an important step in the employment selection process. And if you do it effectively, that enables you to just be one step closer and get your one foot in the door to getting that job and to getting that lovely, I like to call it the yes letter. I love the yes letter. When you get that email or that call or that text to your phone, it's like, oh, I've been accepted. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm so, and you're passing on to your friends and family. Your mom's proud, your dad's proud, your friend's proud, everybody's proud. But the inverse of that is rejection, and rejection, it hits the heart, it hits the soul. But again, nothing can save us from rejection. We're gonna feel it at some point of life. And if you say you haven't, you're lying to yourself. Go back there. So in the virtual age, now the thing is, virtual interviews aren't necessarily a new concept. They've been around. They just are a little more pertinent due to the now of today, given that we're in a whole Panda Express here. It's just become a lot more pertinent, a lot more normal. Most people, from mid 2020 even to the present day, still doing Zoom, Microsoft Team interviews, Skype interviews. I've seen a slow incline of in-person interviews returning, but again, very glacial, very slow. But as for now, this is, the creme de la creme. This is, the way you're going to more than likely be doing things. We will in the future be talking about how to do things in person, but right now we're just going to be focusing on the now. Okay. So there are two types of virtual interviews, one way and two way. Okay. For this class, for our activity and our assessment, your project for this class, your presentation, we're going to be focusing just mainly on one way. If we do have time and we do crank these out, I do want to try two way. I have a fun initiative on two way, but for now, just for time's sake and to get things done, we're going to be focusing on one way. Okay. And feel free at any time just to pause the video, be taking notes. I'm not going to be reading through these whole things just to take up time. Just to write anything down that you feel is pertinent or important. Or, I mean, they're all important, but anything you feel, just take, 3 or 4 minutes just to write those notes down if you feel so. Dressing the part. So I think this is where about we left off on Tuesday. And I know a few of you are a bit confused. So let me clear up some air here. What do you, I know you guys were confused when I was stating you look at a company's culture. When I say the culture, you look at the higher ups. You need to be researching said company. You don't want to go into any company not knowing what you're getting into, because that hurts yourself. You might not even like the aura, the culture, or what goes on there. You don't want just to apply to something just because you think, oh, well, I hear people make high salaries there, or I hear a friend, she does well in life, she works there, or he works there. No, do your own research for yourself. This is important. So when I say look up a company's culture, look at the way they dress themselves. What does a normal day look like in their office? Research these things. So go figure, if I wear a suit to an interview for a camp counselor or working at McDonald's versus me wearing, a reviewing button down or a t-shirt to a bank interview, it's going to send some kind of incorrect messages across the board. It's going to be like, oh. And professionalism, it has come under fire as the years go on. We are in changing times, and it's important that we do say the times are changing. Professionalism, just like all other isms, be they negative or positive, patriotism, feminism, racism, nevertheless, it's an ism. But that's a story for sociology class, not really public speaking. Just know that sometimes it may feel like you're forsaking your true self to fit in, but don't ever feel like you have to give up who you are to fit into a group. No. That's not what we want to do. We want you to follow, or at least me, I want you to sell yourself, but don't ever sell your soul. You hear that? Sell yourself. Do not sell your soul. All right. So generally speaking, a job interview calls for you to wear professional or business attire. Okay. So for men, this might be a suit jacket, some slacks. Like I said, most of you hit the nail on the head when you were doing your speeches in your other courses and you were already wearing that. Most of you look pretty fantastic across the board. So for women, a blouse and dress pants or a statement dress is also appropriate. I redact my statement from last time. I kind of should have just done more research on how women were dressing. Again, we were kind of pressed for time, and it's different when, like, again, I can't speak for women because I don't identify as one. Um, but that just means I need to do my research, as an educator myself, that it's important that I relay that knowledge to you, because I can't just say, oh, I don't know, I'm not a woman. That's not good. So you can also incorporate some model styles, into your outfit. You don't have to just be plain Jane. You have to look like everybody else. You want to stick out, but you don't want to be a sore thumb, all right? You don't want to be a sore thumb. All interviewees should consider colors when selecting an interview outfit, and avoid anything too bright or flashy. I definitely don't want to come into an interview with a bright yellow highlighter suit, and I'm just, and it's a bank job. I don't want to look like Prince in the Revolution, even if you guys know who Prince is in this classroom, coming for a job interview. Different time, different place. Okay. So as I was saying, for the women, we'll start off with you. We return there because this is where I also had some confusion and why I should have probably done better research. So the blazer and blouse combination are great combinations for your interview. This is very simple. Women, I was always envious when I was in school. I was like, oh, these women, like, we gotta keep wearing these plain Jane suits. These women get to, I always say a great pantsuit on a woman. That's always that's always my kind of woman, but enough about me. A blazer and blouse combination is great. A button down, they don't have to be boring. You can get you a very professional, nice button down. You don't have to limit it just to the basic blue, white, or pink versions. Just experiment. You can make it look, you can still have your own style and make it look professional, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what you want to do. You want to exude confidence in the things you do. One can look, but how do you serve it? How do you give it? How do you enter that room? And before you even open your lips, make sure that your dress is speaking for itself. Because when we walk as trust and believe, I've done interviews back when I was in college, being interviewed or being the interviewer. I've done ones where I've looked at prospective members into my organization back on college, and I'm looking for top to bottom. And before they even open their open their lips, I'm like, okay, did he understand the assignment? Did he get the memo? Or was he lost in translation? All right. And that's, it sounds evil, but it's a dog eat dog world out here. All right. You either play or get played. Okay. So here's some examples here, something I left out from last time. Like I said, this from my left, you see that blazer and blouse combination, very nice, very professional, still, good for the office. Here is more of a conservative look in the middle. Again, still professional, still getting the point across, if that's your kind of thing. And then lastly, just the blouse and tie combination is very nice as well. Okay, for my men, it's a little more straightforward, and I can put myself in here because go figure, I do this all the time. So men's fashion is relatively straightforward, just a few basic pieces. It doesn't take much, to put yourself together versus, a woman trying to put herself together and deciding, what she's gonna do. Usually 9 times out of 10, you're wearing the same thing. Now, here's where the controversy comes in. I picked these photos in specific. Now, this first one here, when I was looking up pictures and it had business professional. Now, when I was in school, they banged it in my head that no tie, business casual, tie, business professional. Now, Some may disagree, some may agree. That's just what I was told. So if you heard it from me, if you come here, paw do tie, I'm gonna believe that you were going casual. Now some say, well, if I've got the whole piece and I just don't have the tie, I mean, that's not casual. Well, again, you just have to look at the culture of said company you're interviewing with. And like I said on Tuesday, always better to overdress than underdress. Be the person that be like, oh, um, I'll just use somebody's name in the class, like Ganesh looked really good in that suit. He looked really great. He was dressed from top to bottom. Did you see him? That was good. I'm gonna remember the one who overdressed rather than the one who underdressed. I'm not gonna remember the plain Jane here. I'm gonna remember the guy wearing a suit in the middle. Because I'm be like, oh yeah, no, I remember him. I like him. And again, it's as simple as that. Make a statement before you even open your lips. Okay. Like I said, so we got the suit jacket here, a tie, dress shoes, pertinent, very important. You get dress shoes. Do not, I so many times I see these great suits, but you don't have dress shoes. They're very important. Okay, they're very easy to get. You don't need anything too extravagant, but get dress shoes. Okay. In addition, socks. Socks. Though you can't see it here, dress socks are important. They're not like regular white socks. Do not put white socks on with your suit. That is a big, big no, 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 no. And sometimes, even though we're in a virtual era, when we get to our in-person unit, I remember back when I was doing interviews and back on my campus, what we used to do, we used to do this thing called sock check. And if we had prospective members and they would come in, we would go outline and then we'd be like, okay, gentlemen, can I get a sock check? And I was going to see if you have professional, and if you did not have those socks on, God bless your soul. Okay. So be careful. All right. So we got dressing down. We understand what interviews are. Now, before we even click that join meeting button, there are some things we're gonna need to make sure, some housekeeping rules, all right? Test your technology, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing worse than you getting on an interview and you get that, them stifles or those crunches because you're on a terrible internet service, or everybody's on the internet at the same time and they're crashing your meeting. You just don't want it. Test your technology, or you're running on an old computer that doesn't support the type of software that they're using. And again, they may not have grace and mercy. More than likely not, they're not going to have grace and mercy for you, because what they're going to tell you is you should have planned in advance. You knew you were going to have this interview. You clearly, I can see your work ethic. You don't take interviewing seriously. So how do I know you're going to take my job seriously? How do I know I can trust you in said position? All right. So again, be cognizant of your technology. You are all pretty tech savvy in these day and ages. Everybody's got a cellular phone. Everybody's pretty savvy, and there's nothing you can't look up on YouTube how to test your internet connections and whatnot. So just be careful. All right. So your virtual identity, keep your virtual identity professional. All right. Again, we're in a digital world that's growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Your email address and how you present yourself and everything you do is so important. Your image that you give off. All right. So the email you give to said employer is important. You want something professional, usually just first and last name with a few numbers will suffice. What I don't want to do, and what you don't want to see, and what you should not be doing, is giving an employer, your satirical email address, sweetest candy 2008, or pumpkin spice latte 1998. That doesn't really sit well with an employer. It's kind of giving that you haven't grown up, you haven't gotten an adult email. So, even if you want to keep that email, make sure you make a separate email for your professional life. Again, keep things separate, your professional and your personal. You hear many times, especially in the education field, I'm talking about teachers. Well, I keep my professional and my personal life separate. And that's what you want. And the best way to do it, keep your lives separate. Don't give them enough, but don't give them too much. All right. Don't ever give them an inch to make assumptions on you. Okay. And lastly, rid yourself of distractions, any distraction going on. Now, if you're doing this interview at home, I know when I was at home, I would have to go all the way down to the basement and make sure nobody was around me, make sure my dog was in the cage and all the TVs were turned off, because I get distracted easily. The ADHD and dyslexia combination definitely make it a little hard to focus. Because there's nothing worse than you getting, cut up on your words, or, there's loud sounds, you have a younger sibling who's an infant who's crying, that's all going to take away from this great presentation you're about to give, this interview you're about to give, how you're going to sell yourself. And child, all I can think about is the sounds of U Street outside your window. Okay, I can hear tourists, see the tourists. So make sure you find a nice quiet place, whether that be, those sanctioned off rooms in a library, your basement, anything, but make sure it has a strong connection and make sure that it's just you, yourself, and this virtual space that you're in. And when it comes down to questions, be prepared to not always be talking about the company. Be prepared to be ready to ask some things about you. What makes you special? What makes you important? Who's the who? Can you tell me about yourself, and describe your background? How did you hear about us? Do you prefer working independently or on a team? How do you deal with stressful situations? These are the things you need to be thinking about, because, you don't think about these in our youth. I'm not thinking, oh, do I work independent? Sometimes it'll be like, oh, I like to work alone. I know I'm a lone survivor. I do everything alone, eat alone, go out alone, everything, that may serve me as cold, but you never want to answer your questions too negatively. You want to keep them close-ended, not open-ended. All right. Don't ever give them enough poking room. Okay. So finally, we're going to put things into action. Of course, we got our activity for today. All right. So I got a short video before we start talking about the activity that I want to show you guys.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can
I
help.
love advertisement.
This sentence is grammatically correct.
Okay.
Hi there, my name's Ben and I've been working and living in the UK for the last 6 years. I specialise in sales in the FMCG sector and have done for 8 years overall. 2 years here, I was an account manager with Unilever specialising in the hospitality sector before I made the transition over to Coca-Cola Great Britain, where for the last 4 years, I've been a sales manager over in grocery. I really enjoyed my time and my experience in the UK, but now it's time for me to get back and stuck into the Kiwi market. As I mentioned, in my time here, I've crossed multiple channels. I started out in the field in the hospitality sector before moving across to head office key account level roles within the grocery channel. Currently, I manage the largest grocery account in the carbonated drinks portfolio with Coke, which turns over about £10 million per annum. I've heard whispers that in New Zealand, the hospitality sector is really taking off, and I think my exposure to this channel over here could be really beneficial. I think I'd be an asset to some New Zealand businesses because I'm highly analytical and numbers driven. I have daily access to sales and supermarket data, which I use to prepare reports to make good business decisions. Currently, I report to the National Sales Director and have 3 direct reports myself. The people management piece has been something that I've really enjoyed, and I found that challenging people and being challenged myself has added to my skill set. Over the last 6 years, I've really established myself in the sales discipline and would love to continue my sales career back home, ideally for a global FMCG company. A couple of things that I'd really like for my next role will be to continue the people management side of things. Having had 3 direct reports in my current role has been really beneficial for my skill set, and I'd love to continue the leadership piece and hopefully lead toward higher honours one day. The other thing would be management of some of the company's biggest accounts from a head office level. I really like the analytical and strategic piece and hope to take part in those.
So go ahead and stop there. He is the questions that really pertain to us. But yeah, as you can see, very great example of a one-way interview where they prompted him with a question and he was quick on it, had it rehearsed and gave it, and I understood it. It was cognizant, it was spoken well, it was overall just good. All right. So why don't we give that a shot ourselves? I told you guys we were going to be trying out these one-way interviews for our activity. Okay, so let's put ourselves in the shoes of a prospective candidate. You all are aspirants for an esteemed internship position at Netflix, looking for vibrant young teens with full personalities to be on their writing and production team for new shows. You're given questionnaire stating to record yourself answering these questions, okay? So we're gonna split into two groups, however many people are in class today. I know there's 11 in total. However many are there, we're just going to split down the middle. However it's split, it doesn't matter, but split close to evenly as possible and account to whoever is not there and then put them in those respective groups, okay? So group A, everyone's gonna have the same first question. Tell me about yourself, all right? This is going to be your introduction. Now, we're not going to talk about intros yet because that's going to be our next lesson, all right? How to properly do an intro. This is just to get our feet wet, all right? I'm going to answer each question for your specific group, all right? You write these down or whatever, it doesn't matter, all right? However, here's where the next piece comes in. We are going to record these, okay? You're going to take these home. You're going to take those questions home. You are going to dress yourself up professionally, hold the camera up forward in landscape mode, and record yourself answering these questions as the man before did in the video. And we are going to grade these on, you'll go gracefully now, this is our first presentation, grade these on presentation, on posture, stance, on BP leg, on a multitude of things. How did you follow the notes that I gave you today? We'll do that given on Monday when I return, and we'll go over them. Now, here's where I'm not gonna stifle creativity. You can just record this plain Jane on a phone and try to show it to us. Now, if you want to post this on a social media platform or spruce it up and make it look nice, I will not stifle that. Just make sure it's done. Just don't get too creative to the point where it slows down the process. It's not, I don't want this to be a strenuous task. I want this to be very simple, all right? So if you want to post this as a TikTok, and then, we all as a class can look at it and you want to make it look nice. If you want to put it on YouTube, and you have fancy editing software, do that. I don't want to stifle creativity. I want these to be nice. I want these to be interesting. I don't want this to be dreary. I want this to be fun for you, okay? So for the rest of the class, or however time we have, or however time we're taking up, answer these questions in your respective groups, converse with your other group members in your respective groups, groups A and B, give a chance to go hand in hand and do duos of you being the interviewer and the interviewee, asking the question and answering the question to practice for those. And I will see you guys Monday. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to see you guys. Bye.